Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Tony Talks and Get Up and Grow, where I have conversations with inspirational leaders, influencers, and change makers, people that aren't just doing well in life, but that are doing good in the world and contributing back by sharing their knowledge, sharing their experiences, and show you how you can also get through whatever it is that you're going through. So today, I have the pleasure of bringing, for a second time, she was one of my first guests on our show, and certainly one of the crowd favorites. So today I am going to be sharing with you a dear friend of mine, PhD candidate, she's almost a PhD, Becky Blake. So Becky is, let me just, I don't want to mess this up. She's a psychoneurologist, behavior expert. She is a published author and international speaker, mom of 3 adults, and she's been on a mission to understand people, behavior, socialization, health, and the brain and body, and how to create the most compelling future for over 40 years. She's personally has invested in and sought out, learned and mastered hundreds of strategies. She knows what works and and continues to change people's lives in their homes, businesses, schools, and all over the world, with new understandings about the brain and the body. And the cool thing is, when anyone asks Tony Robbins, does he know someone who takes care and treats and deals with autism? And the person he says is Becky Blake. And with that said, let me bring her on. Miss Becky Blake herself. How are you, my friend? Great to see you.
Hi, I'm good. Thank you for having me back.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It's always great to speak with great people, and you're certainly one of those. And certainly what you do and what you bring to the world and the gifts that you share are so important. And there's so many people out there that need to hear what you've got to say. So I'm happy to bring you here again to share your wisdom with our audience. So tell us a little bit about you, for those who didn't watch you the first time and don't know you yet, but we'll get to know you today.
Who am I? So my name's Becky Blake, and first of all, I'm a mom, and I do have 3 amazing kids, and all 3 of my kids had unique needs. So I went on a mission. I started following Tony Robbins back in '94, and I went on a mission to help my kids have the most compelling futures possible, not knowing that I would learn what I know now. So I was able to get my own son out of autism when he was about 16, learned all about the brain and body, degrees in education. And at 16 and a half, my son crashed his dirt bike. He died for 3 minutes, had major brain injury, and actually broke his neck, C1. And so the doctors were telling me the same thing when he was 3. They told me the same things at 16 and a half. He'll not amount to anything. He's mentally retarded. He's brain injured. Think about institutionalizing him. And so the great thing is, if you can find silver linings, after all the storms, is I found out my program not only works with pulling kids out of autism, but it actually works with people with brain injury. So I was working in Denmark with kids with brain injury. I worked with people with strokes, and my best friend had a brain bleed, so I was able to create a program for her. So I work in schools. My main degrees are in education, curriculum design, movement, the brain, and my PhD is in psychoneurology. And then in a couple months, I'm going to be starting a program to become a physician's assistant. So it's amazing, the information. It's easy. It's neuroscientifically based, and it works with everybody with a brain, a body, and a nervous system. So I'm glad to be back on here. Things have totally changed in a year since the last time we talked. My mom died. I've lost my home. We now have COVID, right? A lot of us are living in uncertainty. So the great thing is I've now learned some more stuff, right? So I'm glad to be here to actually share some new information.
Yeah, I'm sorry about the loss of your mom. I know that's never easy, and always puts things into turmoil. So sorry you have to deal with that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So tell us. So one of the things, like I said, that I neglected to mention this in the intro, is that you are the autism and behavioral expert. And again, like as you said, all 3 of your kids had special needs, specifically. The one you were just referring to now, I apologize, I forgot his name.
He doesn't like me to share it.
You had told me his name at one point, but anyway.
Yeah, that's okay.
But you're the one son that you had that
Yes.
you were able to get him out of autism, and you've helped a lot of people do that as well. And I think that that's such a great, again, it's such a great gift that you bring to the world, and what you can help alleviate some of the pressure and some of the stresses that comes with having to deal with that and live with that. So tell us a little bit more about, what the process is and what it is that you do, because it's fascinating. And the fact that you work with brain injury as well. And we have actually Dana here asking about SCI, about spinal cord injuries as well, because she had a broken neck as well. And so she's still, recovering from that many years after the case. And she's doing very well with it. Fortunately, she's still recovering, which is amazing.
Aren't we all? Right?
Yeah.
We're all a work in process. Some of us have to work a little bit harder than others, right? So, so what I want to share today is I like to keep things simple. I like to give a lot of information, and I want everybody that's listening to this to be able to leave with something that will be life-changing to them. So I want to talk about 3 different areas. And so the first thing is stress, right? So we hear about stress, and a lot of people say, yeah, stress, right? Kind of poo-poo it like it's not really that big of a deal, but we truly need to think about stress and what it does to our brains and bodies. When we're in a stress state, our stomachs turn off, our detox turns off, our blood goes from the core part of our body into our arms and legs, our brain, the blood flow goes from the front logical part of our brain to the hind part of our brain, and we're in a fight-flight mode. So what I'm noticing now with COVID and such uncertainty, like I was sharing with you, is a lot of people have gone into like an 8-year-old survival mode, right? Because they're not sure about what's going to happen. So a lot of people are in a stress state right now. So we really need to pay attention. You can actually pull yourself out of a stress state in under a minute. So I have people all the time come up and say, well, I've been stressed my whole life. There's no such thing, because if you're stressed your whole life, you would literally be dead, because it's tension, right? So truly to believe and understand, when we're in a stress state, our bodies just aren't working right. So the second piece is behavior. So we need to look at all our behavior is the brain and body trying to tell us something. So when I work with kids, I say it's like becoming a brain detective, right? So talking about stress, we know when we're in a stress state when our ears turn red, right? So when our ears turn red, it's our vagus nerve, which is one of the longest cranial nerves that we have, and it innervates our heart, our lungs, our kidneys, all our soft organ tissues. So if there's stress in our body, our ears go red, and it's telling us, pay attention, take a break. So literally kids as young as 3 years old can actually regulate their own stress responses. So I was able to share this with Tony Robbins because I started noticing his ears were purple, all the time purple. And I'm like, I know when people's ears are red, they're not going to, their bodies aren't going to be working the way they need to be working. So just noticing when your ears go red, there's stress in your body. And so literally drinking water, right? Drinking water helps. Breathing, you can do, I teach kids, you smell the flower, blow out the candle, and breathing is a huge piece of my program. So we'll be talking about that. So stress, noticing your red ears. And then the third thing is vitality. So I'm almost done with my PhD. My thesis is on internal knowledge about our brains and bodies and how to be the best that we can be, which actually fits perfect for the COVID time, because we can actually protect ourselves and boost our immune system with this information. And it works with anybody with a brain and body and a nervous system, not just kids with autism, not just people with brain injury, but it works with everybody. So thinking about vitality, there's 5 things we need to focus on. So number 1 is we need to be moving. We need to be moving. So before COVID happened, Holland did a study, and they said that people in the US move 11 minutes out of the day. We wake up, we go to work, we come home, we go to bed, right? 11 minutes. Now with COVID, just think about it. Our kids are home, we're home. How much are we moving? We need to be moving 85% of our day. So in my program, I boost the movement. There's some brain, body organizing activities that you can do that's will help heal your brain. So, but we need to be moving. So whether you're walking your 10,000 steps, or you're taking stairs, or you're turning on your TV and doing some kind of activity, what do you call it, like aerobics or Zumba or something, but schedule it every day. We need to be moving. It's like number one. A lot of things happen when we're in a stress state and then we stop moving. Everything just falls apart. So the second piece is breathing. We need to be breathing. When we're in a stress state, our lungs go into very shallow breathing. We're not fully getting the oxygen out of our lungs. And with COVID, it's a lung issue, right? It's for some reason attacking the lungs. So we need to be breathing. So you can go on YouTube and just plug in Kundalini breathing. Or with Tony Robbins, we do priming. If you do priming every morning, there's a breathing that he teaches us to do. So we're oxygenating our body. We can actually oxygenate our body and get a vasovagal response. It gives us a little bit of a high. So we need to be moving and we need to be breathing. The third thing is when we're in a stress state, we're not digesting. So we need to really look at what we're eating. We need to look at the minerals and the supplements. So within the last 8 months, I've done some more certification programs on supplements and truly the minerals. In my program, I want to keep it simple. I want to take a few things and make the biggest impact. So one of the things I learned is our bodies are actually iron toxic. We have too much iron. The iron is not being used through our bloodstream. It's actually in our tissues. So what happens when we have extra iron in our body is it's what the pathogens, it's what coronavirus, it's what parasites are actually living off of. So we need to look at bioavailable copper. So start paying attention to copper. We need to be adding magnesium to our diet. And again, I need to do a disclaimer. This is all for education, information, and always contact your doctor first before you do any kind of change of medicines or supplements. So, but magnesium, there's hundreds of different types of magnesium. There's magnesium specifically for your brain. So if you're have brain trauma, there's a type that you can use specifically for your brain. There's one specifically for your heart. There's one specifically for energy throughout the day. So, and we should be having probably about 400 to 600 milligrams of magnesium a day. What magnesium does is it goes in and it calms the nerves. So people that have restless legs, people that have a hard time sleeping because they're moving all the time, people that have bowel issues, it goes in and feeds our cells. And most of our processes happening in our body, hormone and all that kind of stuff, is actually regulated with magnesium. Next to magnesium is potassium. So we also need a lot of potassium, like a lot, like 4,000 milligrams a day. Maybe it's 2,000 milligrams a day of potassium. So potassium and magnesium both are what's helping get our brains and bodies and our cells protected. Another thing we need is vitamin E. So not just any vitamin E. We've had a disservice. And if you want to contact me after this, you can go to askbeckyblake@gmail.com. So I can give you more specific what we need. Right now, I don't have enough time to actually go into it, but we need a certain type of vitamin E, not what we're actually taking. So yeah, it's tocotrienol. So it's just a whole nother form. And then you hear a lot right now that we need vitamin D. Vitamin D is not a vitamin. It's a hormone. So it's not that we need to take extra amounts of vitamin D. We need to take vitamin A and vitamin D together. So truly, the best way to get vitamin D is sunshine. And so now that summer's coming in this part of the world, we'll be able to get more vitamin D through the sun. It activates the active vitamin D in our system. But we need vitamin A and D together. So the best way to get vitamin A and D together is through cod liver oil, not fish oil. Fish oil is rancid byproduct of the cod liver oil. That's why if you smell it, it smells fishy, and people that take it say, but I don't like taking it because I burp it up. And you notice that a lot of the fish oils are on the shelf and they're not refrigerated, right? So we would refrigerate our fish, right? So cod liver oil is what we need. And not all cod liver oils are created equal. There's one from Jigsaw. There's one from Rosita that have the high A the perfect D, and you're also getting your omegas for the brain. And then we need whole food vitamin C. We don't need ascorbic acid. We need a whole food vitamin C. So what it is the whole food vitamin C. It's like the example we use is a car. And if you have a car and you have the engine and the wheels and the steering wheel and the battery and everything, whole food vitamin C is the whole thing. Ascorbic acid, which is what you get in most of the vitamins on the shelves, is just like the shell of the car. That's all you're getting. And if you take a lot of it, it can actually start causing gut issues, feeding candida and that kind of thing. And also know that when you're taking your vitamin C, not to take it with sugar. So those gummies that people are eating and they think they're doing so wonderful, it's ascorbic acid and sugar. What happens is the sugar gets uptaked first into the cells, so the vitamin C can't get in. So when we take vitamin C, we need to make sure there's no sugar added. I mean, it's a natural sugar, but we don't want to be adding sugar. So the last thing is we need to be feeding our cells. And the best way to do that it's called adrenal cocktail. So when my dad got sick like 4.5 years ago, and I went home to take care of him and my mom, I was already in adrenal burnout. And then I went into adrenal insufficiency and my adrenals actually like shut down, right? So I was sleeping all the time. I couldn't get up. And I was trying to figure out how to heal my adrenals, how to get back to life. And so I found this protocol. It's called the root cause protocol. So you can go to rcp123.org and hear more information. So there's stops that you do, and then there's some starts that you can start with. And literally, I started doing these things called adrenal cocktails. Basically, it's potassium, sea salt, and whole food vitamin C. And where I was sleeping 24 hours a day, within 3 weeks of starting doing the adrenal cocktails, I could walk for 3 hours a day. I started walking to the ocean and back. So where I hadn't been able to move for like a year, right? Pretty much if I was out with families, out doing events, coming home, I was sleeping until I could go back out again. So adrenal cocktails, you can get, you can buy them already made. So Jigsaw has a really good one. If you want to go to the root cause protocol and you can type in adrenal cocktail alternatives, there's 5 or 6 different ways to do it. It can be done very cheaply. You can go to the store and get cream of tartar, which is potassium. And then you get your own sea salt that you have, and then you mix it with like an orange juice, like a whole vitamin C. And you take it 2 or 3 times a day, and it just gives you the energy. It helps protect your cells. And it's just, for me, it was life-changing. It was life-changing. And again, all this information, it's all natural. It's whole foods. So even our kids can be taking this. You just want to make sure they're not getting like full adult doses. But these are the things that I'm recommending to families. Also digestive enzymes. These are things where I can tell a family, your child needs to go off of dairy, go off of wheat, and do a magnesium, and the kids are talking in 2 weeks, or they're potty trained in 2 weeks, right? I don't even need to go to their houses. So I've just got trained in this root cause protocol, because we can start with, let's feed the cells, let's feed the brain and the body first, and then let's do the rest of the program, right? It's called the Blake method. It's a whole protocol that helps to wake up the brain and get everything talking, right? So, but if we start with our minerals first, so now with the coronavirus out there, we're all in a stress state, right? We're all depleted. So literally just by doing a couple different tweaks to your diet, and it's not even that much money, you can actually be feeling better, have more energy, have a more positive outlook in life. And then we want to be thinking about, what are we eating? Right. So I know I haven't been eating as healthy as I usually do, because I'm craving more comfort foods. I'm craving more carbs kind of food. Right. So just know, what's that?
I said, I understand.
Yeah. So just know what happened is, in the old days when we would eat grains, and we would eat flour and have like cookies and cakes and that kind of thing, there used to be DHA, which is an essential fatty acid, in the bread, but they've taken it out of the bread and the cookies and stuff. But our brain and body don't know that. It says, go for the carbs so we can get the essential fatty acids that our brains and bodies are craving. So this is another reason why we need to really be looking at cod liver oil. I can tell, and I still do Udo's oil, right? And when I first started doing Udo's oil 15 years ago, I started noticing all my carb cravings went away. And then when I would run out of the bottle, within a couple of weeks, I started craving carbs again. So it's a great little metric that if you are craving carbs, to do some oils, cod liver oil, Udo's oil, do some oils, and then notice within the next couple of days, your carb cravings will actually go away. Our body's actually craving carbs. I mean, the essential fatty acids, not the carbs, right? A lot of us are dehydrated. Huge piece of the coronavirus is dehydration. A lot of people going into the hospitals are so dehydrated, right? So also know in our brains and bodies that hunger is right next to thirst. So sometimes we are dying of thirst and we go eat food, right? Because our body's trying anything to get, some kind of hydration into us. So just some kind of spring water, some kind of healthy water, just be drinking water throughout the day. And if you can add the adrenal cocktail to it, even better. Because when I first learned about drinking water, you're supposed to drink, I don't know, like a gallon of water a day, right? It's per pound per body weight or something. But if you drink that much water without electrolytes, you're going to flush electrolytes out of your body. So we need to be adding the adrenal cocktail to our water a couple times a day, so we're not flushing out the, what we're already depleted in. Right. So make sure that you're hydrating. You're hydrating as well.
Sure, makes sense. Drink plenty of water.
Yeah. And then the last thing is, and this is
right.
The last thing is, and this is what we have great conversations about, is mindset, right? So like whenever we talk, we're always talking mindset. So what are you focusing on, right? If you're focusing on fear and scarcity and, oh my gosh, right, who's in office and who's saying what and who wrote what, right? And the negative, you're going to get more negative, right? But if you think of who can I help, right? That's my primary question, is who can I help today? Who needs help, right? So if you're feeling down, if you're feeling depressed and depleted, and you're working on your minerals, you're moving and you're breathing, the next step is to go help somebody, right? Share, right? I think our mission in life is to actually get out there and help people through what we've already gone through. So my parents just died really fast, right? And so I went through grief like I've never felt it before. It was like this tsunami wave, and it was like the darkest time of my life, but I now have new skills where I can share with other people. I know what needs to be said, right? I know how to help, right? I've learned more about compassion, right? I've always thought I was a compassionate person, but until my parents died, I was really just living in empathy, sympathy and empathy. Where compassion comes in is action, right? If you have sympathy and empathy, you can put yourself in someone's shoes, but where compassion comes in is actually doing something, right? To help end that, not end it, but to help, ease some of the suffering from another person. What can you do, right? Understand their model of the world. So what are you focusing on? I'm focusing on, this is a reset, right? When my son broke his neck, where's the silver lining? After every storm, there is a silver lining, right? So even when my son broke his neck, we're like, let's find the positive in this, right? And so his positive was he didn't have to take senior finals and he still graduated, right? He got to walk down where they did their graduation was outside, 90 degrees, or wearing their caps and gowns. He got to walk up and go first, look like valedictorian, walk down and then leave. He didn't have to stay for what he said was the boring stuff, right? So we can, if we look for it, we can find the silver lining, right? So really look, this is a reset for us, right? This is about contrast. What in your life was good? What in your life were you missing? I truly believe we should be living every day like it was the last day of our lives. What would you be doing today if it were because it could be, right? With this COVID, we didn't know a couple months ago. It could have been for all of us, right? So what are you doing? For me, it's all about experiences and relationships, right? So really, get into your brain and understand. I was talking to a really good friend of mine the other day, and at home with her 3 kids, and she feels like she's not doing enough. She's an entrepreneur. Her and her husband have a couple companies, and she really felt like she wasn't doing enough. And I'm like, oh my God, you are doing more than enough. And just somebody coming in and telling her that, because her brain is, what more should I be doing? I should be doing more. I'm like, you're here to enjoy your kids, right? You're here to teach your kids how to do laundry, right? You're here to teach your kids how to be good adults, right? You're getting this 2, 3, 4 months with your kids to be with them, because we miss them, right? A lot of my friends' kids go to daycare at 7 o'clock in the morning. They get picked up at 6 o'clock at night, and pretty much they have them on the weekends. Now they get to have them 24 hours a day, right? I'm getting a lot of phone calls because people don't know how to handle their kids because they haven't really had to, right? They've had them on the weekends, right? So it's a whole new, it's understanding, it's being compassionate, and it's enjoying the differences, because having kids, you know this, they're all different.
Yes, they are.
Maybe one of them might be like us, but all the other ones aren't. I have 3 kids. I have identical twin sons. None of my kids are the same. What worked for one didn't work for the other, right? So it's being playful, it's being curious. And instead of getting mad and frustrated, it's enjoying the differences, right? This is a whole time for contrast, right? What do you like? What don't you like? If you're fighting with your kids, that's a contrast, right? You want peace and love with your kids. How do you make that happen? How do you make it be more fun and playful, kind of thing? So what are you focusing on? What are the questions you're asking yourself, right? So really, sink in and think, are you automatically responding to your life, reacting to your life? Are you living your life on your terms, right? That's what I help people do. Help people figure out where they want to go in life. Where's the gap? Let's get there, and let's get there quickly, right?
So whether if you're reacting or you're responding, I was telling you briefly about the story that I shared yesterday. In life, anything that happens in your life, it's how you're going to, it's really whether you react or whether you respond that actually is going to determine how you're going to ultimately get through that problem, or if that problem is going to help, or if you're going to fix the problem, make it worse, or what you're going to do. So always best to respond and not react, because the first instinct to do is to react. That's usually not the right thing to do.
Right. My thing now is to add the word pre to everything. So, right. So my thing is about prevention, pre-action, right? Pre-respond. If we put it in our head. So every day, I think everybody should have a morning routine, right? Go to Tony Robbins on YouTube and look up priming. I think everybody should be priming. You're breathing, you're going into gratitude.
By the way, if anybody else may have heard it or learned it in a different way, it's also called the fire breath.
Yeah.
Is that rapid thing? But yeah, share that. I'll put the link in the comments.
Yeah. So breath of fire, it's part of Kundalini breathing. So there's hundreds of different ways to breathe, right? Which is huge. And he talks about mindset and healing your body, and then being proactive of what you want your day to look like. So I think we need to be proactive on knowing what we want our day to look like. And we need to go to bed and be grateful for the amazingness that we do have. No matter how horrible it can be, there's always a positive. I read a book when I decided to become a teacher when my kids were little, and it was a book by Marva Collins. And she said, what changes a child's life is saying something kind to them every single day. So she's a teacher, and she's saying she's got all these snot-nosed little kids coming in her classroom. And some of the kids, she couldn't find something positive to say, that she would have to go and say, I love your red shoelaces, right? So, but every night before we go to bed, to literally sit in our brain and think, what are the things we can be grateful for, right? Our heart beats all by itself, right? We breathe, right? With COVID, right? We have breath, our lungs are working, right? Our brains are working. There's people out there trying to make a difference, work with people who are getting the results that you want, right? There's a lot of people, we were talking about that earlier. There's a lot of people who are sharing their information now, right? So to really go out there and find people and to look, where do you want to go in life? What do you want to do next, right? This is like to truly sit and say, right? If we were little kids and it was Christmas morning tomorrow, or if someone gave you $1 billion and you have no time constraints, no nothing, what would you be doing, right? Where would you live, right?
It's a great question. It's a great question and exercise to ask yourself. Actually, Orlando posted this, said this a few minutes ago. He says, this is a perfect time to learn more about you and your next move and what is that you want. So that's a perfect, he actually said it just before you started speaking about it. What is it that you really want? Most people, they haven't asked that question. They haven't asked themselves that question, is what is it that I really want? Who do I want to be? Who do I need to be? Who do I get to be? Right? Because this is a good time to figure out, because there's so many people, we're so busy trying to make a life that many times we forget to live, right? We forget to live our life. And this is very much a reset and very much an opportunity for people to kind of look and see what's really important, what really matters, what is it that you really want. Now maybe you realize how much you love your job. Maybe you realize how much you hate your job. Maybe you realize how you can do things differently, right? So this is just it's a good time. Listen, it's a shitty time in one way because a lot of people are suffering. There's a lot of people that have gotten hurt in this. I've certainly have friends of mine who've been impacted, and we've had some extended family. We've had some losses in our family as well due to the COVID. But the reality of it is, life goes on, right? And number one, and number two, it's a time to really reassess, see where things are at. Time to reconnect. Again, we're at hopefully we're at the tail end of this thing, and hopefully people have taken advantage to reconnect with people that they haven't, and certainly reconnect with themselves.
Yeah, and to be kind and to check in with people, right? I mean, there's a meme on Facebook. It's like, check in on the strongest people you know. Right? They're probably suffering the most, right? So you never know. And that one check-in, I'd say every day, if you schedule, we should be scheduling. Have you drank water, right? How much water did you drink today? What have you eaten today, right? How much have you moved today? We need to be doing little checklists, not only for our kids, but for ourselves. Because I notice I can go 2 or 3 days and say, oh my gosh, I didn't move hardly at all today, right? I've been working. I'm writing a book, right? Creating some online programs. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have not walked today. I've not worked out today, right? So, but if I put it on my schedule every morning, do this, this, and this, eat breakfast, do this, and this, and this, because our brains we're in that fight flight. It's about survival. It's not about the logical thinking piece. So really just schedule, write down, sit down and write. If you could have the ideal life, what would it look like? And guess what? You actually can, right? So it's our minds, what we focus on, right? And I was going into families' houses, working with families in their homes, and I was really concerned because the kids were so entitled, right? Their chicken nuggets had to be cooked a certain texture, certain crispiness, or they wouldn't eat them. And then the moms had to make it all over again, right? I would go into a home and say, no technology while I'm awake, right? And I would have a little 5-year-old hitting me in the head with the remote, right? And I'm saying, you can't hit people. And the parents are kind of laughing, saying it's cute, right? She doesn't know what she's doing. And I'm like going, oh my gosh, like I'm really concerned. Kids were on their iPads. I would ask families, how often is your child on technology? And they're like going, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, 18 hours a day.
Yeah.
Right.
It's an hour and a half every hour.
Yeah. Yeah. So the kids are eating with their iPads, they're sleeping with their iPads. And this is another thing. A lot of the kids I work with, the families call me and say, my children aren't sleeping. They're not sleeping at night because they're not tired. I'm like, how much did they move during the day? They didn't. They were on the couch on their iPads or watching TV or watching other people play games on YouTube in their beanbag chairs, right? They haven't moved at all. We need to get our kids moving, set up an obstacle course, get them running. We should be moving with our kids. Look on YouTube and do some yoga. Do yoga with your kids. Kids love moving. They love chart it, right? Get a trampoline for your house and chart how many jumps you can do. How long can you jump, right? Kids love charts. So, but we all need to be moving. We all need to be breathing. We need to be eating better. That's what, for me, this reset is, I'm looking at COVID. People aren't dying of COVID. People are dying of obesity, heart disease, kidney disease, right? They're dying of issues and COVID, right? COVID just sped up.
Exactly. Right.
Our bodies are so inflamed. I mean, talking about people with brain injury, and there's inflammation in our brain, right? I work with football players who have concussion syndrome. It's inflammation in the brain, right? But guess what? There's a way to heal your brain, right? The parts of it that are dead, but there's parts around it that you can re-wake up with the right movement, with the right hydration, with the right minerals, it's amazing things that can happen to our brains and bodies. So for me, this reset it drives me crazy. We don't, I guess some people think we need a vaccine, right? No, we need to get healthy, right? So I don't hear people saying, oh, I should lose weight. They're saying, I can't wait for the shot, right? I'm like, let's move. Let's get healthy first.
Everybody's looking for the quick fix, the pill, the shot.
Yeah.
That's easy to do. Everybody's looking for the easy way out. And look, it's great to have the easy way out. Certainly, it's great to have something that's going to be there to be able to protect you. But yeah, I've got no problem taking the treatment for it. Vaccine is going to be a bigger.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. Yeah. I just watched a YouTube video with Tony Robbins and Peter Diamandis, is that his name? Last night they're doing like shots and anti stuff. So it's it's educating ourselves.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing. That Peter Diamandis is on the cutting edge of everything. I think he's part, bionic and robotic by now. He's got so many things, and it's one fascinating thing that he says, though. He says, don't die of anything stupid in the next 10 years, because the innovations in medicine and what's happening is it's going so fast and growing exponentially that in 10 years, there may be a lot of cures to a lot of different things that have been plaguing humanity. So we'll see. Hopefully.
Yeah. And my thing is not to react. I'm a scientist, right? My thing is to get more information, right? If you're reacting to something strongly, I love debate, right? Debate in high school was so much fun. They would give you abortion, and then you'd have to be for it and you'd have to be against it, and you would have to, argue both sides of it. So, to be a scientist, it's like, I wonder what will happen if, right? Or who's talking about this, right? And who's paying attention to this? So if you respond strongly to something, if you believe in conspiracy theories, great, but go get educated on the other side, right? There's 3 sides to every story. There's my side, your side, and the other side, right? God's side or whatever, right? So if you, and we're living, a lot of people, when they get into fear mode, go into scarcity mode, right? And then they need a little bit of, their bodies are depleted of the minerals, their energies are low, and guess what's waking them up? Chaos, adrenaline, right? I'm going to get mad, right? So there's a lot of strange things happening now, right? There's a lot of things I never thought would happen in my lifetime happening. But to question, how do I best help myself? How do I best help my children? How do I best help my community get through this and be stronger because of it, right? And just educate ourselves. So, so anytime you feel yourself react, another thing I'm certified in is hypnotherapy. And I truly believe if you're having a hard time with life, just to go to YouTube and you can type in hypnotherapy and whatever it is, anxiety, right? And just lay down and listen to hypnotherapy. And it just goes in and talks to your unconscious, subconscious brain to help get rid of some of the patterns that you've had since you were a child. If you have fear, just go and do some hypnotherapy. Do some EFT tapping, emotional freedom technique tapping, to just release. There's so many amazing things that we can be doing to help our bodies instead of being in a stress state. Because in my program, stress is number 1, right? If you're in a stress state, you compromise everything.
Yeah, you don't know. First of all, we don't know, right? But when you're in a stressed state, your thinking goes down and you're not focused on what it is that you need to do. So handling stress is so important. I've had moments in my life that the stress have been just off the charts. I didn't know about the whole hereditary thing. I must have been going around like, I can't even imagine what that looked like. But that's fascinating. That's a great little tip. I didn't realize that looking at the red ears for stress.
Yeah.
You probably had already told me that once before, but I forgot.
Yeah.
So Orlando asked a question here, and I don't know if you're familiar with it, but he's asking, what do you feel about Elon Musk's cranial implant?
How about we do it without an implant? I truly believe that we have mineral dysregulation, and if we could literally go in and get our minerals updated, we have way too much iron. We don't have bioavailable copper. I mean, it's kind of criminal what our food systems have done, right? GMO foods, the glyphosate in the foods. We've been fortifying our foods with iron since the 50s. We put fluoride in our water, our toothpaste, aluminum, right? So
and our deodorant and everything else. I mean, think about the fact that Monsanto, what is Monsanto? Monsanto, they're a chemical company. They're now the largest seed and food supplier in the U.S. because Europe doesn't accept any Monsanto food anymore. But they're a pesticide and chemical company. Yet somehow they are right now the biggest supplier of food.
Yeah, and their seeds that they're creating that have the pesticides in them aren't germinating and creating more seeds. So you have to keep buying them, and so a lot of the heirloom seeds and the old seeds, that had all the nutrients in them, are no longer available.
Right.
So
well, it works
crazy.
Again, with our sick care system, because it's not really healthcare.
Yeah. And also thinking our soil is so depleted of our minerals. This is why we have to take our minerals, but we have to make sure they're coming from a great source and it's whole food, not synthetics. Our body is not depleted in synthetics. We need whole food, right? We don't need vitamin A, we need the retinol, and it comes from whole foods, right? So this is what my book is. My book's coming out in 2 weeks. It's called The Fountain of Youth Found Within. So it's my PhD thesis.
Can we pre-order your book?
Not yet. No.
All right. Well,
I got a few more days until I can actually release it.
So we can do that. So a couple of things. Judy asked a question here. You covered so much great stuff today. Do you have a tip sheet with all the most important ones? That's a great one, because just before that, Dana actually said this is a listen to twice episode, because you're dropping a lot of knowledge here.
This is my PhD, right? Yeah. This is what it's taken me 30 years to learn all this stuff, and I'm happy to help. And if anybody listening to this wants to contact me, again, my email is askbeckyblake@gmail.com, and I'm more than happy to talk to anybody. We can set up a strategy call. My mission is to help people, right? I get nurtured by nurturing others, right? So it's really easy for me. It's taken me a long time and a lot of hard work to know what I know, right? So, but I'm more than happy to help people that want to help themselves. So, which is like 0.01% of the world.
You could only help people who want to help themselves. So many times we're trying to help the people that aren't trying to help themselves, and we burn out because we get frustrated. And sometimes people are
so I have a school program. I have a school program that we're licensing. I want to get into all the schools around the world. And it's not about reading, writing, and math. It's about teaching kids their brains and bodies and how to be the best they can be. We talk about protein and carbohydrates and being the best person they can be, leaders, right? This is a program that gets kids out of autism in 6 to 9 months, right? And it's a school program. It takes like an hour a day. It's the same with my home program. We're starting up a training program just so more people can have this information. So
I'd love to talk a little bit more about what you just said. And by the way, if you know anybody that has a child on the autism spectrum or is an adult with autism spectrum, share this video, share the YouTube link, tag them on here, and just share this video, because this is one of the things that I really want you to talk a little bit more about. And you mentioned it before, and we're talking about it again. You're talking about how we can heal our brains. And our brain, but collectively.
We do have brains. We have a left brain and a right brain. We actually do have 2 brains. Yeah.
So how we heal our brains and how everything from a concussion and how you can help heal that a sports injury or a traumatic car accident, an injury that way. And really children with autism, they have damage to their brain, right?
Nope.
So
nothing's wrong with their brains.
Cool. Excellent.
And I can't use the word heal or cure.
Fine.
I can't. But I can help your brain work better.
So educate us like you're educating me now.
Yes.
I don't know what, fortunately, I don't have to deal with that. I don't have that condition that I've got to live with, fortunately. But there are a lot of people that do. So teach us, educate me on what that is and how your system could actually work, and is it I know that there's a series of exercises and vitamins and nutrients that you can take, but tell us a little bit more about specifically what your program can do and how it can actually help kids with autism, because I live in New Jersey, and I think
your biggest capital in the world of autism and
in the world. So that's why I'm so blessed that my children are healthy and that I don't have to deal with that. But there's so many people having to deal with that. So share a little bit up on that, if you will.
Yeah. So the way my approach is different is it's all stress. We have to start with stress, right? So when we're in a stress state, our brains and bodies aren't working right. We're not assimilating the minerals. We're not eliminating the toxins. We're not detoxing, right? So we need to, so in my program, it's about taking the most complicated brain body systems and making it simple that we can all do, right? We can all help ourselves. So looking at stress, looking at our red ears, right? We can regulate our stress responses just by looking at our red ears, right? In my program, you can go to Becky Blake Autism, and I have videos on there on how to wake up your stomach before you eat to make sure you're digesting, to quiet your brain and body and pull the blood flow back into the core part of your body. I share everything, right? It's not, I work with families in their homes, but I have free stuff on YouTube. I have books, right? So, but we need to look at stress, right? And then we need to rebuild our brains and bodies. Our brain, when we're in utero, our brain and our stomach are developed at the same time and grows a spine, right? There's brain cells in our stomach. If our stomach doesn't work right, our brains don't work right, right? And when we're in a stress state, it's a compromising problem. So literally looking at stress, looking at our red ears, right? Getting out of a stress state sooner, waking up our stomachs before we eat, doing some movements. So we have two brains, a left brain and a right brain. There's corpus callosum in the middle, and they want to talk together. And if only one side of your brain is strong, there's like road rage, right? You get obsessed. You get stuck on certain patterns of thinking is what our kids with autism does, right? So we need both sides of our brains talking to each other so then we can get front lobe thinking, logical thinking. So you think of kids with ADHD, the harder they try, there's gates in their brain, there's less blood flow to the front part of their brain. So they're being told, try harder, try harder. The harder they try, the less blood flow they get to the front part of the brain. So I don't believe in medication. I believe medication should be the very last thing you try with anybody. But there's activities you can do, nutrients you can take to wake up that front part of your brain without taking the Ritalin type medication. So it's just a better understanding about the brain and body. What activities can we do to wake up our brains and bodies, right? It's so much information, but it's 5 things, right? It's understanding stress. It's looking at everything you're doing, your brain and body, all the movement as a way of communication. Your brain and body's trying to tell you something. Moving, we need to be moving. There's organized movement we can do that will help wake up our brain. Nutrition is huge, right? And then mindset, right? Mindset, what are you focusing on? When my son was 2.5, nonverbal, labeled brain injured and mentally retarded, and the doctor said, think about institutionalizing him because as he gets older, he's going to become sexually deviant or he's going to become aggressive, right? With testosterone, think about institutionalizing him. And I thought, no, this is when I found Tony, right? My kids were 2.5, 3. And I'm like, I just want them to have happy lives and laugh, right? So I thought, well, he's not talking. How can I get him to communicate? I taught all 3 of my kids sign language. Within 3 months of him signing, he started talking. But that part of his brain is injured. So he's not supposed to talk, right? So, and what Tony Robbins teaches us is instead of listening to the doctor's limiting beliefs, right? The doctor will tell someone you have 6 months to live. They die 6 months to the day, right? What if they would have never been told that, right? I was told my son was never going to talk. I got him talking, right? So, and then even working with people like speech therapists, and I'd always say, have you gotten a nonverbal kid to talk? And they're like, well, no, but keep coming back, right? So working with people, getting the results you want, not just keep putting money out there, hoping it's going to work, hoping this is going to be the next thing. Literally working with people, don't recreate the wheel. Someone else has already created it, right? That's why we're put on this planet. This is why we go through our challenges, is so we can help other people.
So true.
Learn I call them strategies, right? I'm a strategist. What are your happy strategies? Let me learn them and I will keep you happy all day long, right? That's what I do with kids. What is their learning strategy? What is their success strategies? What is their strategy to talk? What is their strategy to potty train? Let's figure it out and then let's do it. And then the kids happily, right, make these changes. Expectations. I was a teacher And every year at the beginning of the year, we'd get the files of the kids, and the school I was in, there was 3 special ed classrooms, and we would share the files. And I always wanted the hardest of the hardest kids, the runners, the biters, right? The nonverbal kids, and they would come around the fastest, right? But I would have other teachers looking at them going, you won't get this kid to talk, right? They're coming in with the mindset, this kid will never talk. And I'm thinking, no, this kid's going to talk. Give me 2 weeks. This kid's going to talk. And then the kid's talking in 2 weeks,
Wow.
right? So it's expectations of our kids. Just because you have a nonverbal kid does not mean their brain doesn't work and they can't hear, right? Just because you have a child with autism does not mean their brain is broken. It's not. It's actually gifted, right? Let's wake up and figure out what these kids need, right? What is their success strategy? Because the world isn't figuring it out, right? These kids are put into schools. I think anybody with autism should have to go into highly capable programs, right? I think expectations need to be raised for these kids. And that's what I do when I go in the home, is raise expectations. If I'm working with a 4-year-old nonverbal autistic child, not yet potty trained, I treat them like they're 8 years old, highly verbal, highly capable. And within a weekend, these kids are totally different kids.
Wow.
Right? So expectations.
Right. Because you're setting because again, if you treat them like they're that they can't do it, and it's okay that they can't do it, then there's nothing for them to reach for. They're already doing what they're doing, and they're happily doing that. But if
magical thinking, right? Yeah. They'll raise up to the lowest expectation.
Right. Raise your standards, right? You may have heard that once or twice.
Yeah.
Right.
My best friend, she's brilliant businesswoman, branding expert, lives in New Jersey, had a brain bleed, right? And she knew how smart she was. She gets this brain bleed, and then she's anxious, she's depressed, and she doesn't have word recognition. Like she's like, it holds water, can't say cup, right? And the doctors are like saying, well, that's good enough, right? And she's like, no, it's not, because in her head, she knew what the word was, but she couldn't find it. So within 3 months of my program, she actually said her brain was better because now she didn't need reading glasses, which she needed before the program. But if she would have listened to the doctors, and the doctors are saying, yeah, it's good enough, there's nothing else we know what to do with you, deal with it. And if she wouldn't have known me, right, or went seeking for better answers, she would have lived without word recognition, right? So don't listen to the doctors, what they're saying, right? Well, okay, I can't say that. Listen to doctors.
Right, listen to them, but don't take what they say as gospel, so to speak, because we're all human. And that's why, doctors, it's a practice, right? There's practicing medicine. And
we're patients, because we have to be patient.
Right. Well, I tell them all the time, be patient. Like, that's why he made you a nurse.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just this is where we go back to, what life do you want to be living? And I had brain injury when I was a kid, right? I've split my head open twice, once when I was 3, once when I was 4, which separated my brain, right? I had some corpus callosum issues. I didn't read till I was in 4th grade, but I was so smart, I had everybody believing I knew how to read, right? So I would have probably been labeled, maybe not autistic, maybe Asperger, but definitely sensory processing disordered. Like, you couldn't even sing happy birthday to me. I would be under the table for 2 days screaming bloody murder, right? So, and if my mom, for some reason, my mom got totally interested in autism when I was a kid. She babysat autistic kids when I was a kid, right? So my mom was the type of mom who was like, I'm going to figure this out, right? I was really hard. I was a very hard child to raise, but she figured it out. And so almost like 75% of my program is what my mom did with me when I was a child, right? So there's activities out there, there's information out there. The PhD that I'm working on, it's psychoneurology. It's taking ancient healing techniques and melding it with modern technology, right? Chinese medicine, Kundalini breathing, like hypnotherapy, NLP, like there's so much more that we don't know, right? And if you believe it, you can actually make it happen, right?
Listen, I so believe that. Most people can't do things because they don't believe they can do it. So I would imagine that the reverse is true. If you can believe you can do it, then you're a hell of a lot closer than if you don't. So absolutely. So actually, Dana Lisa Gang here is saying that I should team you up with, I should connect you with Scarlett. So I'm going to connect you after the show, I'll connect you with a mutual friend that is doing a lot with children as well from the Sandy Hook school shooting. And she was one of the moms that lost a child. And fascinating story. I had her on Tony Talks maybe, I don't know, last week, actually exactly a week ago, I think. And she's doing a lot in the education space. So maybe we'll connect you guys and see what magic can be made.
A small group of people can make the biggest change.
Absolutely. So Orlando drops this one. This is the best informative live ever. Chat ever. Awesome. I'm glad that everyone's getting a lot. And listen, I knew that they would. I've been meaning to have you back for weeks now, but scheduling just allowed for us to get together now, which is great. So Dana is asking how much you know about spinal cord injuries.
I know enough that I don't know a lot. It depends on, like, my son had C1 fracture, but it didn't impact his spinal cord. But I also worked with someone who did have more of a spinal cord injury, that it was a left side paralysis. So again, when your brain and body are in the right state, it can actually heal itself, right? There's a lot more now going on with stem cells, right? So for me, I would love to have a conversation, because with great minds thinking alike, with networking, right? And asking the right questions, and keep asking the right questions until you get the answer you want. That's how I look at life.
I love it.
I know about the brain. I know about the nervous system, but I'm not an expert in spinal cord injuries.
She's definitely that person, though. She's that person. She keeps asking the question until she gets her answer. She's actually, she coins herself as a stem cell tourist. She's been all over the world doing stem cells, to the point where she was told she'd never walk because she broke a couple of vertebrae. And not only, and she's off the she got off the ventilator. She's been active. She does have ability to walk now. A limited ability to walk, but she's skied, she's active. So
yeah, I've been following her on Facebook. She's very inspirational.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Very inspirational and beautiful. She's very beautiful.
I surround myself with good people. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you become who you hang out with.
Absolutely. No truer words have ever been spoken.
Yeah.
So to reach you, what is your website? I know that people can get you at askbeckyblake at Gmail.
I have the blakemethod.com. So, so the Blake Method is the work I do. And then I have creatingsuperkids.com that talks about my products and programs for families and kids. And then on YouTube, you can go to Becky Blake Autism. And again, it's not just autism, it's information for everybody.
Creatingsuperkids.com, right?
Mm-hmm. Creating Super Kids. Yes. Yeah.
Cool. So, absolutely, everybody just follow, and on Instagram you are is it the Becky Blake Method on Instagram?
Becky Blake PhD-C.
That's it. So Instagram, I'll put that in here as well. I type with broken fingers, so
cancel clear. Careful what you say.
Oh my God. PhD-C. Cool. So follow Becky on Instagram, follow Becky on Facebook, follow Becky on YouTube. She has amazing, amazing content. Every time we speak, I learn something new, which is why I love speaking with you. Red ears. I love
everybody.
So it's fascinating to know, but there's so much to learn, because I know that you've been working on this for 40 years, and the depth of knowledge that you have into brain injury and autism, and how to help people come through it and really live a more active and fulfilled life is amazing. So thank you for what you're doing in the world. Thank you for the difference that you're making. I can't even imagine what the families of the children that you help, how they can even, I can't even imagine. So thank you for what you do. You're a beautiful person, and I love you for it. And I just, again, encourage everyone to follow Becky and see what she's doing, and share this video. If you know anyone, that needs to hear this information. Certainly, there's a ton of information on minerals and vitamins and what to take and how to take.
Go to Root Cause Protocol.
Yeah.
I've been studying minerals for 30 years now, and it's finally the one place that's truly scientific and makes total sense. So Root Cause Protocol.
ABC123.org.
RCP123. RCP 123.org. Make sure you go to .org because .com is a porn site.
Oh,
RCP. I made that mistake.
Org.
RCP123.org.
I'm going to put org in caps.
Yes.
Org. Org for organization.
Root cause protocol. Yeah. So I'm still learning, right? I'm still learning. We don't know what we don't know, right? And my thing is taking complicated brain body systems and making it simple that even 3-year-olds can understand what I'm talking about. So
I appreciate you for what you do. Any last thoughts? Because we're at the top of the hour and I want to be respectful of your time and everyone on here as well.
No, I'm here to help anybody that, like I said, I'm an email away, right? I'm approachable. I just want to help people. So
awesome. Well, listen, don't go away. And I'm just going to close this up. So everyone that's watching, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for sharing. Please go to the YouTube channel and click subscribe, share it out of there via email to anyone who may not have Facebook. And again, anyone on Facebook, tag them, share the thread. There's a lot of great content in here. I'm going to go back and re-listen to it. And as Dana said before, this is a watch twice episode. So I appreciate all of you. Thank you for watching. Remember, my friends, that life is not about how many times you fall. It's about getting up after every fall. And every time you fall, you have the opportunity to get up and grow. Appreciate all of you. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow we have, again, the Brian Bradley back on with the Goskew. So come and work out with us.
Talk about movement. That's a great movement program.
It really is.
Awesome.
Love Brian. So thank you and ciao for now.
God bless.